Welcome to another Walter Football video. I'm Charlie Campbell, Senior Draft Analyst, the most accurate mock drafter in the world. Before we get rolling here, I suggest you click into the settings, speed it up to 1.25 or 1.5. First of all, gotta say, apologize. I've been a little bit away past few weeks. My daughter had a lot of specialist appointments at doctors, and she was sick, and my wife was sick, and my house, a lot of repairs are going on. So it's been crazy, hectic fall. So I'm sorry about that, but we'll be back on track here as we roll into the end of the college football season, the all-star game time, draft season kicking off, combine not too far away as well. So it's going to be a really exciting few weeks and months here leading up to the 2023 draft. So let's get into this week's mock. First overall pick, I have the Texans taking C.J. Stroud, quarterback from Ohio State. I think Stroud will end up being the consensus number one because of the size concerns with Bryce Young. I think if they were equal size, Bryce Young might be graded out higher, but because he's so undersized and teams have durability and injury concerns with him, I think that Stroud will be viewed as the safer guy. The Texans need a franchise quarterback. Unless Davis Mills plays really well and a lot better here down the back half of this season, I think that they're going to look for a new guy there. Second overall, I have the Raiders taking Will Anderson, edge rusher from Alabama. Chandler Jones has been a big disappointment. That was a bad signing to begin with. They're paying for past performance there. They could use an edge rusher across from Max Crosby, and I definitely think Will Anderson will be a plug-and-play upgrade for them in Las Vegas. Third overall, I have the Panthers taking Bryce Young, quarterback from Alabama. Obviously, Carolina needs their future franchise quarterback, a guy to build around, and Young, I think, will end up being the second-rated quarterback in this draft. Fourth overall, I have the Eagles taking Joey Porter Jr., cornerback from Penn State. Give them another corner to pair with Darius Slade. James Bradbury's played really well for Philadelphia this season, but he's entering free agency after the year. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a big contract, and the Eagles might opt out of a bidding war there. Fifth overall, I have the Jaguars taking Quentin Johnston, wide receiver from TCU. The Jags badly need a big number one outside receiver for Trevor Lawrence, a guy that can play off of Christian Kirk and give them two mismatch options there in that offense, and I definitely think that Johnston would be a plug-and-play upgrade for Jacksonville. Sixth overall, I have the Bears taking Jalen Carter, defensive tackle from Georgia. Give them a difference maker up front. Chicago's front seven really needs a lot of help. Carter could give them an interior pass rush, tough run defender, really give them a disruptor at the point of attack. Seventh overall, I have the Seahawks taking Myles Murphy, defensive end from Clemson. He's big, fast, athletic, would be a really nice fit there in the Seattle defense, give them an elite pass rusher. Eighth overall, I have the Lions taking Bijan Robinson, running back from Texas. If you want to check out the hot press that I had out this week on Bijan Robinson, I had sources. I talked to sources from 5 different teams that all had him rated higher than Saquon Barkley or Ezekiel Elliott or Leonard Fournette. One area scout said you had to go back to Marshall Faulk for a comparison as far as what he can do for an offense. But the Lions, their offensive line is excellent. They can really run the ball. The problem is DeAndre Swift can't stay healthy. He's not worthy of a big second contract. Jamal Williams is entering free agency. Imagine what that running game could be if you had a tailback like Bijan Robinson behind that line. So I have the Lions going with him there. Ninth overall, I have the Texans taking Isaiah Foskey, defensive end from Notre Dame. Houston really needs to improve their pass rush, improve the playmakers in their front seven. They really have not done a good job of finding a difference maker after losing J.J. Watt and Clowney and Merciless. They got to start getting some more talent up front. Foskey could be their lead dog edge rusher, really help improve their pass protection and pass rush and pass coverage, I should say, because he's going to help the cornerbacks with more pass pressure on the quarterback. 10th overall, I have the Steelers taking Peter Skoronski, left tackle from Northwestern. He could play right tackle. His improved strength this year, you could put him on the right side. You can put him at guard. Think he could stay at left tackle. He's a real smooth mover, even though he has short arms. But he's just a really good football player, and he's going to improve that line, the protection for Kenny Pickett and the holes for Najee Harris. So let's see, we are at 12th overall. I have the Falcons taking Will Levis, quarterback from Kentucky. Obviously, Marcus Mariota is not the long-term answer there. Atlanta really needs a quarterback that can get the ball to their big receiver, Drake London, their big tight end, Kyle Pitts. Levis has a cannon for an arm, great intangibles, really tough. I think that'll appeal to the Falcons organization. 13th overall, I have the Cardinals taking Tyree Wilson, defensive end from Texas Tech. J.J. Watt's entering free agency. They lost Chandler Jones a year ago. They could use some youth in terms of a pass rusher and an edge defender there in Arizona. 14th overall, I have the Packers taking Paris Johnson, left tackle from Ohio State. Give them some more offensive line talent. They could move him around to guard or right tackle and just find a spot to improve that line. Maybe you slide a guy somewhere else and that improves the line at 2 spots. 15th overall, I have the Colts taking Tanner McKee, quarterback from Stanford. Give them a big armed pocket passer to work off that offensive line and work with Michael Pittman and the receivers they have there, Alec Pierce. Give them more steadiness at quarterback. Obviously, Matt Ryan isn't the future. He's in the downside of his career. So clearly the Colts need a new quarterback. 16th overall, Washington, I have them taking Antonio Johnson, cornerback safety from Texas A&M. He's a do-it-all defender. He's an outstanding football player, tough, tackle, can play in the slot at corner, can play dime linebacker, really good safety, has the size and speed. You could line him up on the outside. He's just a Swiss Army knife in terms of pass coverage and what you can do with him, and obviously Washington needs more talent in that secondary. 17th overall, I have the Chargers taking Gervin Dexter, defensive tackle from Florida. He's a really tough run defender. Has showed some improvement in the pass rush this season. You'd like to see a little bit more impact there, but he has athleticism and burst, so the physical talent is there for him to be a better pass rusher. So that's something that'll come along, I think, with good coaching. And in Los Angeles there with Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa, bracketing him, that can really help in terms of setting up one-on-one and favorable situations where all they really need for him is to push the pocket so quarterbacks can't step up away from those dynamic edge rushers. So I think Gervin Dexter would be a really good pick for the Chargers. 18th overall, I have the Bengals taking Christian Gonzalez, cornerback from Oregon. Give them a number 1 corner for that defense in the long term. Plug and play upgrade could be a really nice fit there in Cincinnati. 19th overall, I have the Bucs taking Jackson Smith-Njigba, wide receiver from Ohio State. This is more of best player available, obviously, with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. It's not the biggest need on the team, but Julio Jones isn't a long-term answer. They've had injuries at the position, so I think it would make sense to take Jackson Smith-Njigba, have him as the 3rd receiver, and then in a few years, as Mike Evans is aging out and expensive, you have your long-term number 1 receiver there already in-house, developed and ready to go. 20th overall, I have the Broncos taking Jalen Duncan, left tackle from Maryland. Give them a plug-and-play offensive lineman. Duncan is really quick, really athletic, good size. You could put him at right tackle or left tackle. I think he'd be a real upgrade for Denver. 21st overall, I have the Patriots taking Kayshon Boutte, wide receiver from LSU. Obviously, New England needs more playmakers for Mac Jones. Boutte is kind of similar to DJ Moore in Carolina, maybe a little less physical, but that kind of type of wide receiver. I think that would be a big upgrade for the Patriots offense. 22nd overall, I have Seattle taking Brian Branch, cornerback safety from Alabama. He's similar to Antonio Johnson, where you can do a lot of different things with him. You can play him at safety, play him at nickel corner, versatile. He's tough, plays the ball well. I think he'd be a really nice fit there in the Seattle defense. 23rd overall, I have the Jets taking Cedric Tillman, wide receiver from Tennessee. Give them a big outside receiver to pair with Garrett Wilson. Obviously, there have been trade requests from Denzel Mims and Elijah Moore. And Corey Davis is more of just a stopgap veteran, but they could get younger and cheaper and add a more steady option there on the outside across from Garrett Wilson. 24th overall, I have the Bills taking T'Vondre Sweat, defensive tackle from Texas. He's similar to Jordan Davis, where he's freakishly quick and athletic for a massive interior defensive tackle. He is a beast against the run. I think that would be a really good fit there in the Bills' defense, give them more size and physicality. 25th overall, I have the Ravens taking Jordan Addison, wide receiver from USC. Give them a replacement for Hollywood Brown and a guy to complement Rashad Bateman. 26th overall, I have the Titans taking Michael Mayer, tight end from Notre Dame. Give them a guy that can really help in terms of mismatch in the passing game, play off of Treylon Burks and Kyle Phillips in terms of working the middle of the field. So they could use more weapons, and Mayer isn't horrible as a blocker, so I think that would be a nice fit for Tennessee. 27th overall, I have the Cowboys taking Jahmyr Gibbs, running back from Alabama. Such a dynamic receiver-runner combo, really similar to, say, guys like Alvin Kamara and DeAndre Swift in terms of being a phenomenal receiver and also a quick slashing runner. Ezekiel Elliott looks like he's in the last year with the team. Tony Pollard's hitting free agency. You would think that the Cowboys bring back one of them, and then the other one's gone, and then you draft a back to pair with whoever is the guy that stays. 28th overall, I have the Giants taking Jalen Jones, cornerback from Texas A&M. Give them a big outside corner. He's physical, really good cover skills. I think he's being underrated in this draft process here in the early going, but he's a really good football player. I think he'd be a nice upgrade for New York. 29th overall, I have the Vikings taking Jared Verse, defensive end from Florida State. They could use some more youth on that defensive line in Minnesota. Verse, really tough football player, plays hard, shows some real ability in terms of quickness and athleticism to get after the quarterback. I think he'd be a good fit in that scheme there in Minnesota. 30th overall, I have the Chiefs taking Clark Phillips, cornerback from Utah. They could use more cornerback talent. Phillips is a ball hawk, not the biggest of corners, but he plays bigger than his size, is gritty, athletic, real playmaker. I think he'd be a good fit there in Kansas City. 31st overall, I have the Eagles taking Felix Anduke-Uzomah, defensive end from Kansas State. Give them an edge rusher. Obviously, Brandon Graham and Robert Quinn aren't long-term players at this point in their career, and Anduke-Uzomah has been phenomenal for Kansas State this year. Has a lot of upside. Think he'd be a really good pick there for the Eagles at the end of the first round. All right, let's get into teams that do not have first-round picks. We have the Saints up first at 34. I have them taking KJ Jefferson, quarterback from Arkansas. Obviously, Andy Dalton and Jameis Winston haven't proven to be the long-term starters to replace Drew Brees. They need quarterback help. There should be some good options on day 2 for the Saints, whether it's KJ Jefferson, Jaden Daniels, potentially in the second, third round. You have other guys to consider like Jaron Hall from BYU. Jefferson and Hall, kind of roller coaster seasons. They've looked good at times, been disappointing at others. But I think in New Orleans with a good coaching staff there in terms of experienced coaching staff, they're going to help improve KJ Jefferson in terms of field vision. He's a tough runner, has some nice attributes otherwise as a passer in terms of accuracy, going to the sideline and downfield. So I think he'd be a decent fit there in New Orleans. 38th overall, I have the Rams taking Zach Evans, running back from Ole Miss. Give them a tough runner. That running game has just been dismal in Los Angeles this year. It has really hurt the team in terms of not being able to play complementary football, putting Matthew Stafford in bad down and distance situations where teams know the pass is coming and they can tee off on him. Doesn't help the defense in terms of clock control. They got to improve that running game this offseason. Zach Evans would be a plug-and-play improvement there for Los Angeles. 39th overall, I have the Browns taking Jamie Robinson, safety from Florida State. I think Grant Delpit has been disappointing. They could use an upgrade there. Would be a really nice addition for them. Robinson's kind of just a steady football player, not especially flashy, but he's just reliable, consistent, really good, solid contributor for the Seminoles. 60th overall, I have the Dolphins taking Amari Burney, linebacker from Florida. He has been excellent in pass coverage this season, and you saw it in week 1 against Utah with a game-saving interception. You saw it midway through the year with how he covered Georgia and their superstar tight end Brock Bowers. It's going to be a first rounder in 2024. So really impressive coverage skills. Burney also is quick to the sideline. I think he'd be a good fit there as a run defender in Miami as well. So I really like that pick for the Dolphins in the second round. Okay, now we got the 49ers later, day 3, mid-rounders. Who knows where they're, after trades and everything, they could end up moving up or down. But they could use some defensive line depth and just to help them withstand injuries. So I have them taking Byron Young, defensive end from Alabama. Really good football player, just kind of a tweener in terms of size, but he's tough, plays hard, shows some ability as a pass rusher and run defender, but he's just kind of in that size range where he's not quite doesn't have the length of a defensive end, doesn't have the weight and girth of a tackle, just kind of in between. But as far as a depth football player, I think that's a nice addition for them because you can move him around, help you provide some backup talent at a few spots. So that's this week's mock. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Definitely check out the links below. You can follow along there, read through the mock. I'll post it in the comments, the link to the site. Of course, we got all kinds of position rankings and other hot press and stuff going on, stock reports, big board on the draft coming up, all on walterfootball.com. And Walt's picks have been phenomenal this year. Check those out. And I'll be back with you guys soon. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share it. I really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. I love all of you. I'll be back soon. Thank you.